Hi Taurus, it's Jenny here with your February Tarotscope. I have a single card for you for the month of February. The first 2/3 of the month is Aquarius season, and then we will have Pisces season towards the end of the month. I have a little bit of a cold, so if I'm a little sniffly or groggy, bear with me. And the card that I have for you this month is the Devil. So here we go. This is what the card looks like. So we have this figure, this naked figure, lots of big wild hair, kind of dark. It's got these kinds of like horns coming off body parts and this sort of staff with a butterfly on it. There's these hands. It could be like pushing him off, could be reaching for him, hard to say as he steps right off this cliff edge, and big bright blue open sky there. Okay, so let's see what the Devil has to say for you this month, Taurus. Yes, Taurus. All right, here we go. The Devil. Creative tampering with taboo. The card depicts a hermaphrodite figure with a wild mane, a horned head, and a further horn on one knee holding a wand or a flute in its hand and bouncing off some kind of pedestal. Two black arms release the figure or try to grab at it. This card appears strange at first glance, but it cleverly avoids a stereotypical portrayal of the devil. So we are able to ask, what meaning does the devil have for us today? Each and every human being brings something new into the world, but we all have certain qualities and peculiarities that do not fit into the present framework. Every human being continues the story of creation and therefore is bound eventually to enter the realm of taboo. The Devil card clearly indicates that some kind of taboo has been violated. What was implicit now becomes visible. This can be used to your advantage because you can now take on the task of openly dealing with taboos, affirming meaningful ones, and getting rid of others that are senseless. Don't be put off by the bully. This is your chance to break some old horns. On the one hand, the Devil represents a vampire and a real burden and vexation. No wonder we are afraid. Yet this is our opportunity to rid ourselves of the darkness that we have finally recognized for what it is. On the other hand, the Devil represents the prodigal son, that part of us that we have always tended to deny and neglect, although we secretly and rightfully long for it. Now is the time to bring the prodigal son home. Practical advice. Once you have shed light onto the darkness, the vampire will turn to dust and the hidden will take on shape and color as it emerges. Dare to face the unknown and observe it closely until you can decide how much of it to use and what to discard. Okay, love this card. Okay, Taurus. So this card, like we said, is all about taboo. So whenever, and I love this, I love dealing with taboos. And I love what it says here is we all have certain qualities and peculiarities that do not fit into the present framework. So anything when we think about taboo is that which culture or our family or whatever framework, social framework we're in, has decided isn't okay. For whatever reason, there can be really, valuable reasons, often rooted in real circumstances or traumas that that culture has experienced that have decided to name something taboo. But the problem with something being taboo is that we don't talk about it. There are very real reasons why we don't do things. There's certainly rules and regulations that have good reasons for it, but they're not taboo if you can actually talk about them. Then they're just really good reasons, and we're passing on knowledge as to guidance and wisdom as to what we should do. Taboo is shut up, we don't talk about it, we don't do it. So that's when we start to lose connection to the reasoning and the wisdom behind a choice was made, and then that choice cannot evolve and get criticized and critiqued to see if it's still relevant. So this whole idea that what is the present framework right now, and has it become so rigid that the things that are, if the framework is so old and hasn't been able to be adapted and examined because we haven't been allowed to ask questions about it, it's an old framework and we're in the present day. And so there's going to be things about all of us that are going to brush up against the taboos and the things that our current framework or culture or society or family doesn't want to talk about, but we notice it because we are wanting to break out. We don't fit there. And the questioning of taboo is one of the most important ways in which we clear out and move and upgrade, or I don't mean upgrade, like bring into the present things that may be stagnating in our culture or community, and clean out that gunk. Do we still need this? Why do we do this? And then once we question it, questioning taboo doesn't have to be scary, because if it is still valuable, we can still choose to follow that rule. We can reinstate and reteach the wisdom as to why we do or do not do something if we now collectively, presently, still decide that that is in service to our modern present values instead of the values and the issues that may have been dealt with in the past. We also don't have to shame our ancestors or make wrong the decisions that were made back then. Some of them maybe weren't the best, but we can understand that's a different time and not shame it, but not be beholden to it anymore and not let that stifle and squeeze out the life of change that we're trying to experience right now. So tackling taboo, always scary, always so valuable. And it's so easy to think of when we look in the past and we can think of, oh, the things that are very normal, accepted, and wonderful that we experience taboo today started with somebody cracking on the doors of taboo and a lot of people not liking it and thinking the whole world was going to end if that were to happen. So we can look to the past and we can really value those who challenged taboos in the past to give us courage and a guidebook even for how we can helpfully and healthily, consciously work with taboos and try to clean them out, see if they're still useful or not. So yeah, and that starts within as well. There's things that we just make taboo for ourselves. A lot of that unconsciously we may repress things we may have learned as a child. We're like, no, we don't do that when we didn't have the agency or the mental faculties to really understand why things may have been or to update that for ourselves. So that work starts with ourselves of what are the things that I've banished in myself? What are the questions I refuse to question? What are the things that that's the way I am, so I don't have to look at it anymore and stand on that like it's a proud thing, instead of you should always be able to examine yourself, and then once you've examined it you can confidently stand on it and say that is who I am because I've checked, because I constantly check, I constantly see if this is still me or not. And then that is not taboo, being confident on what you've examined and tested and always having that question open to say, is that still good? Yeah, it's still good. Is that still good? I don't know if it's good anymore. It starts with ourselves. We have that foundation, and then we can move out. We can start to challenge and question things, because we also, if we learn how to challenge taboos without shaming people who may have still held them, it's going to be so much easier to deal with them. Because if you come at people with shame and an attack, they're going to knuckle down. They're going to see you as an enemy, and it's already hard enough to deal with taboos and shame that it's only really going to be done in a really safe environment. Or it's going to cause like a civil war. So that's one way that taboos do get dealt with, is people knuckle down and the people are ready for change. We're just going to fight it out and see who wins. Awesome. That can sometimes be necessary. But generally speaking, if we can approach it before it gets to that level of combat and deal with it when it's at creating a safe environment and encouraging those who are still stuck in that taboos to say, hey, we've gone somewhere. We've done this exploration. It was really, really scary. We'd love to help you do it as well. That's a significantly more peaceful and less traumatic way to deal with taboos, and it's not so fractious. But understanding that sometimes if push comes to shoves, like that may be how it goes. So we try to do it, and that's one of those things that if we can do it in ourselves with grace and with that comfort and not shame ourselves as we work through taboos, it's so much easier to then engage in the outside space because we've had that practice ourselves. But we don't want us to go at war with ourselves and to just beat our taboos out of us or say we were so stupid for having that in the first place. And then that just builds up a pattern of how we're going to try to beat it out of other people too. So sure, we might get the taboo out of the way, we might upgrade our actions, but we're still going to be in a really kind of yucky shame and anger cycle in and of ourselves, which is, it's kind of just like putting on clean clothes but having never washed yourself. Like, sure, the clothes are clean, but we're just going to kind of go through the cycle again. So yeah, that's what the card's suggesting here. This is a fabulous season for this because Aquarius season is all about being a rebel. It's all about saying, I don't want to do things the way everybody's doing it. I want to do something different. So there's so much energetic support to the idea of challenging taboo, to say that like, just because everybody else is doing it, I'd like to really check and examine this myself. Maybe I'll come to the same conclusion, but I'll have done it not just because I'm copying and following people, but because I truly believe it now. So there's already, for the first 2/3 of February, such a great time to be confident and to like not need to be in the group, but to step outside and really figure out for yourself what's true for yourself and what do you really believe about the culture that you're in and those kinds of rules and taboos, and asking those questions, being really curious. And then towards the end of the month we have Pisces season, and Pisces is really all It's really all about love. I mean, lots of these signs are about love, but this is really about connection and empathy. So it's realizing that the borders and boundaries between us are a lot of that's illusion. We do have so much in common. We are all, even though we're individuals, we're part of a culture, we're part of an ecosystem. I affect you, you affect me, and that's a really wonderful thing. So it really brings back that option of breaking down taboos as being an option to be healing for everyone instead of just being about, I'm the new right person and I'm going to be the victor over you, the old wrong people, and I'm going to just pummel you out of existence, and now we are the new way. Because that kind of self-righteousness just preps you to be the new old guard, that you fought so hard for your beliefs that that will get codified, and then the new people that are looking at, you know, like, I don't want to deal with your rules and taboos. Like, you don't want your burst for freedom and breaking out of old taboos to become the new taboo because you fought so hard for it and you weren't able to lean into that energy of, this is all for everybody. We want to be healthy and safe and comfortable and wonderful, instead of, I fought this hard, therefore I'm never going to give it up. Like, that's how this cycle just keeps, repeating, where the old progressives become the new conservatives, and then that loop just kind of happens. So that's a suggestion, is Aquarius season, first 2/3 of the month, we do this examination, self-determination, going away from the crowd, really checking in and doing that work for yourself to question those things, be a little bit of a rebel, but it's for the purpose of coming back and healing the entire community. It's not just liberation for yourself, it is to liberate everybody and connect us all compassionately so that we can all move into the future together. And maybe we don't even have to keep doing these cycles anymore, because maybe we'll just get rid of taboo altogether because we'll just feel safe enough to talk about things all the time. Anyway, that's my dream. I love that, Taurus, and I love that this is something that that you're going to be working with this month. So yeah, because I mean, if anybody's going to hold strong to a commitment on something, it's a Taurus. So I really, yeah, best of luck as you take on this challenge of taboo. It's going to be super awesome. If you want any additional support, especially for seeing what transits and energy is going to be supporting you, there's a really nice forward momentum and push that we're just starting to ride, with all the planets finally not being in retrograde. So do check out the Aquarius season, pay what you can forecast. A lot of really good things in there, and I do appreciate all donations. So that will be a support for you this month. Otherwise, yeah, best of luck and happy February, and I will see you next month.